My name is Shandra, and I am a woman of the wastelands. It's rough out here. If you're not starving, you're being hunted. If you're not being hunted, you're trying to find a safe place to stay for the night. But that safety, it never lasts long, does it? I guess you would know that.
What do you want with me?
With you? To make an example. You see, being a woman out here is hell. As if the consistent abuse of our dignity wasn't enough, the only halfway civilized society in this nightmare treats us as second-class citizens, as demons. So after I escaped the servitude of the Holy Nation and found myself battered and humiliated at the closest town that could pass as refuge for someone like me, I made a vow. Never again will I bow to men. Men will bow to me.
Kenshi is a dangerous game, but not dangerous in the typical sense. No, it won't cause you to form a cult, nor will it help you overthrow an entire nation. And it won't cause you to be dissolved by acid rain. At least, not in real life. In the game, however, all bets are off, and it's likely going to take you a very, very long time. And what I mean by that is, if you're tempted to buy Kenshi after this video or before this, I hope you're prepared to spend dozens of hours accomplishing very little and enjoying every moment of it. Kenshi is a bit strange. A little bit of survival, a little bit of RPG, a little bit of RTS, and a little bit of tactics are all mixed together to create a unique experience that I've been spending way too much of my time on, and I really just want to dive right back in and spend more. Kenshi is set in an apocalyptic future where civilization has mostly collapsed, starvation is the norm, and violence is the word of law. The world is harsh and untamed, and it really doesn't care at all that you're even in it, at least for the most part, and that turns out to be one of the most satisfying and addicting parts of the experience that this game has to offer. For the most part, you're just another NPC. What that means is that you won't be targeted by bandits or wolves just because you're the player. You'll be attacked because they're hungry, you have food, and you just so happen to be in their way. If you're collapsed on the side of the road and slavers find you, I hope you're ready to do some work, because in this world, you're not special. You just exist. From a purely mechanical side of things, another aspect of Kenshi that will keep you around is the slow but tangible progress that you'll end up making throughout the game. You start the game with ripped clothes, a barely functional weapon, and no real skills to speak of. All your stats are set at a big fat 1. You truly have nothing and nobody, and then you start to get hungry. You're immediately met with your first goal: find food. How do you do that? Do you wander around outside and lure some starving bandits to the guards to help you kill, so you can then trade their gear for a meal and learn how to fight in the process? Or do you just go outside to mine for ore to sell and keep you fed, building your strength in the process as you cart all the heavy materials back to the bar? Or perhaps you'd rather risk making an enemy of the only establishment you know of right now that supplies food by trying to steal it instead of buying it. The choice is yours to make, and the consequences are yours to bear. But the best part is that no matter which path you choose, you can watch your stats begin to increase, and slowly but surely, you'll make money and become more capable. But that was only one minor goal at the beginning of one of a handful of different ways that you can start the game. And while none of the different starts change the core of the gameplay in any way, they will provide different starting points both in the world and with your character's state. Perhaps you're missing a leg. Maybe you've got a small squad already, or perhaps it's just you and your little doggo against the world. No matter what you choose though, strap in, because you're gonna be in it for the long haul. You might be wondering though, what's the goal? What's the story? Well, there really isn't one. Kenshi is a sandbox with no singular story to follow, but one of the reasons I'm so addicted to this game is because of the story I've crafted around these characters myself. And I'd be remiss not to shout out Mathis Games for his narratively focused series on Kenshi, which inspired me to purchase the game and craft my own story within this world. You saw a little bit of my story at the beginning of this video, but I wonder what Shandra is up to now.
It's about time for us to establish a presence. We've grown in numbers and in strength, but that's not enough anymore. We need more space. A place for us to settle down and, more importantly, a place for more like us to gather, train, and help as we amass equipment for the upcoming war on the Holy Nation. It won't be easy. Laying down roots will certainly attract those who are looking to plunder what we've worked so hard for. And because of that, we cannot rely only on our manservants. Each one of us will help mine, farm, cook, and craft equipment as long as necessary to make sure we're safe. And we're going to do it right under the Holy Nation's nose. We'll build our home in the very heart of their farmland, biding our time until the moment is right for us to strike. They'll never see us coming.
Mine is the story of a woman who escaped the abusive, xenophobic, and misogynistic oppression of the Holy Nation. She was a servant in all but name before she escaped, only to be shifted to a different yet equally miserable life as a starving drifter. One day, something inside of her snaps. She takes the name Shandra, a new name for a new life, and swears vengeance on not only the Holy Nation, but on men everywhere. To accomplish this, she sets out to recruit an army of women while enslaving men to do all the menial labor and work that she requires to be done. Honestly, this isn't the most unique story, and if this was given to me by the game, I wouldn't be nearly as engaged or as addicted to the game as I am. But the fact that I crafted this story around my characters and am pursuing it to the best of my ability within this game, it's giving me such a connection to the story and to the game that I can't help but want to see it through. But something that I've only sort of touched on until now is the fact that Kenshi isn't just a single character RPG unless you're doing a solo character challenge. Throughout the world, you can find NPCs chilling out in bars and inns just waiting for somebody to come and sweep them off their feet in hopes of a more stable livelihood. Most of the time, they'll cost you some money, but occasionally you'll pick one up for free. It doesn't take too long before you're managing not just your own character, but your first few characters as part of your own little squad. And this is where the game really starts to pick up because now you have a lot of choices to make. What weapon should each character specialize in? Which one should wear heavy armor and try to taunt the enemies in battle? Who's going to be in charge of researching more technologies? Who's going to be your armor smith? Who will slave away at the mines? You could have everyone do everything all on their own, but man, who's got that kind of time? But of course, a strong squad of warriors and workers means more mouths to feed, more people to protect, more warriors to equip, and more jobs that need to be done. Kenshi is the sort of game where you're never able to quite feel like you've been able to accomplish a goal. Because as soon as you do accomplish anything, there's something even more enticing just around the corner begging for your attention. Is that a bad thing? I mean, it could be depending on how much free time you have, but what I will say is that it's incredibly satisfying watching everything grow. You get to watch as your main character and every person you hire into your squad slowly grows into formidable and dangerous warriors and accomplished craftsmen. You get to watch as the settlement that you build from the ground up grows and becomes self-sufficient over time, eventually attracting wandering adventurers the same way that you visit cities during your own expeditions. And you get to watch as your character's goals slowly but surely come to fruition.
The time has finally come, ladies, for us to pay back what is owed. Some may think that out here, they've escaped the Holy Nation for good, but I say no. Not a week goes by where they're not scratching at our walls for one reason or another. Do you feel like you've escaped? I don't. I still feel imprisoned. And for that, I'm sorry. But it was necessary. This home we built together, it was worth it. But now it is time. The Holy Nation comes to an end today. And in its place, we will rise. Those of the Holy Nation believe that women were made in the demoness Narco's image, and that darkness will always dwell in our inner nature. If that is what they believe, then we will show them true darkness!
Getting to the point of feeling like you're strong enough to take on the likes of the Holy Nation takes an incredible amount of time. At the time of writing this line, I have about 66 hours in Kenshi. time that honestly should have been spent working on other videos, and it's been a slow, arduous journey. But I'm really enjoying slowly carving out my place into this world and enjoying the fantasy of Chandra's plot for world domination. But that's not to say that Kenshi is without its faults. First off, this game has a nice pile of optimization issues, and yeah, I get it, the game was made by an incredibly small team and simulates a lot of things on a pretty large scale, but boy, does it hurt sometimes. You'll notice early on when you're traveling long distances that loading the parts of the world that you're walking to makes the game chug terribly as you move. It gets even worse when you have enough characters in your faction that you can split up between a home-base crew and an expedition crew, because popping back and forth between the two sectors that might be on opposite sides of the world gets really, really slow. On the gameplay side of things though, the more complicated your concerns become, the more you begin to notice various deficiencies in the game's AI. You're able to maintain a list of jobs for each character with a simple queuing system. If the character can see that a job is able to be done nearby, he'll try to do it. Otherwise, he'll move on to the next job and so on until there's nothing left in his own queue. I'm happy that something like this exists, but I often find myself wishing for a little more complexity, almost like a Dragon Age-styled task system with conditionals for certain activities. Like, I don't know, only crafting weapons if the iron plate bin is at least half full, only begin cooking food if the food barrel is at 10% capacity, and don't stop until you either run out of materials or it's at 50% capacity. Yeah, it would be a lot more work on the developer side to create and a lot more work on my side to manage, but the ability to fine-tune in this way would help me so much in keeping my settlement running like a finely oiled machine. Sometimes though, the AI will just completely break in some way, and I apologize because I don't have good footage for anything I'm about to say. But sometimes a character will get stuck and be unable to path properly and get left behind by the crew. Sometimes your crew will all decide to just go different ways when you send them a few miles away, resulting in a splintered sort of march. And you might not notice immediately, and then you're just desperately hoping that they don't get ambushed on the way. Sometimes your members will ignore a job. Sometimes a building is unable to be entered or exited until you reload the game. Sometimes the Find Corpses job will throw itself towards the top of the jobs list when you reload your save. Sometimes one of your characters will collect materials from a bin just to put it back 100 times per second. And always will the characters fail to communicate with each other with what task they're trying to accomplish, resulting in a ton of wasted time as 3 of them race to the loom to turn cotton into cloth, only to turn around when they find that someone beat them to it. But do they return their materials? No. Now they're running around with a pile of cotton, wasting their bag space. What are you gonna do with all that cotton, Shandra? Just carry it around? Alright, if that's what you wish. It's weird though. Just put it back, please. There's a lot of these little annoying quirks with the AI, but honestly, I'm making them sound quite a bit worse than they really are. Yeah, they're frustrating at times, but the core of the game is so incredibly strong and so ridiculously addicting to me that I'm just able to look past these issues and enjoy the game for what it is, which is a fun, squad-based survival RPG with a lot of complex systems that work together in a very satisfying way. And that, more than anything, is what makes Kenshi such a fantastically dangerous game.
Shandra has miscalculated. She knew the Holy Nation would be difficult to challenge, but the strength of their paladins is unlike anything she'd ever seen. One by one, as her friends and allies fall by her side, she can't help but laugh. She's underestimated her enemy, sure, but this isn't the first time she's been defeated in a fight, and she knows it won't be the last.
Just a setback.
She tells herself as she awakens once again in a Holy Nation cell.
Nothing more than a setback.
Deftly picking the lock on her cell, Chandra takes a look around the room at her friends, bruised and battered, but alive. She smiles once more. She may have underestimated them, but the Holy Nation made a big mistake, letting her live. Chandra and her crew may have lost the fight, but the war has only just begun.
Hey, thanks for watching. I also want to thank Gina M for providing the voice for Shandra, and a huge thank you to Mathis Games not only for the outro voiceover, but for his Kenshi series, without which this video wouldn't even exist. So if you're looking for a good Let's Play to watch, I can't recommend that series enough. But until next time, bye-bye.